TikTok. It's time to rock. We're getting really good at this, ladies and gentlemen. Starting within 5 minutes of the appointed start time, Brad. I'm going to have to put it down to you, brother. I think it's because of the discipline that you've been showing as a gigging musician and arriving on time and making sure that everyone's on time, counting the beat properly. It's your influence, brother. Thank you.
No, look, I try to influence everyone as much as I can, and as much as I try to be early to every show. I'm usually on time or thereabouts, a few minutes late, but I'm glad we just scraped in 2 or 3 minutes over our starting time, so that's good for us.
Mate, it's always an achievement. It's always an achievement, Simon, because there was a period there where we were kicking off 30 minutes past bloody start off time, wasn't there?
Honestly, who was that?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a special show we have on the Sunday show, Rankin the Tracks. We have the pleasure of having with us Jim, also known as Jazz Thunder Flash 50. And I'm putting the flash in there because anything that's Jazz Thunder has to be a flash.
You always have a flash in there.
How are you, Jim?
I'm great. Good to see you all.
Yeah.
We'll talk about today.
Up early.
Yeah. It's not easy to get up first thing in the morning, but it's well worth getting up to talk about this sort of music, so that's good.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you.
Nice strong cup of tea or coffee, I hope you got. When you're ready to go.
Hey, he's a Scotsman. It's Scotch. It'll be Scotch in there.
It's a bit early for Scotch on your cornflakes, isn't it? Blimey.
Look, we've got a couple of things, ladies and gentlemen, that we want to do in the intro. We're going to probably get them kicked off pretty quickly because we've got a guest on. The Rock Professor and I and Brad can't sit here all day and bore you guys with waffle and bits and pieces, but we've got a video that we want to show. If you guys are following us on social media, you may have seen it. It's a montage of some photos that a very good friend of ours, Curtis, who's been on our channel a couple of times, took for us from a event, Simon, that we've had the pleasure of being very close to over the last 6 or 7 months.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's been really exciting to be a part of that, getting their book off the ground, Jeff and Bob's book off the ground, and being a part of promoting that. And sadly couldn't make it myself, but but I would have loved to have gone because it would have been fantastic fun, I think. Looks like they had a good turnout, didn't they? And lots of people. Yeah.
My flight that was arranged to go over there just got cancelled, so I couldn't go.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You got that here, ladies and gentlemen.
he got on the wrong plane. He only went out of state, not out of country.
That's right.
Turned up at a show. Yeah.
Here, now play. What?
Yeah. Then play on. But you can tell us a little bit about that too in the intro, bro. While we're talking, I'll go on my social media and I'll just download those photos while we're talking, and we can show them at some stage during the show if that's okay. I won't have time to do it during the intro. But and then the Rock Professor after that's going to do a quick shout out because we've got a few cats in here hanging out with us, and then Jim is going to kick off the album. Is that pretty much the show, Brad?
Sounds like a plan to me. 100%.
Sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan. All right then.
It's a plan.
So bear with me. We'll add that to the stream, and I got to do something. Got to make sure. Hold on. I've got to do this properly Because the last time I
Rolling
did it,
on.
I got to do it properly. So you got to share the audio. So you go share screen, share audio. You got to click the audio. You got to click the audio. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know that they'll be watching. You guys are awesome, what you guys have done, and we do look forward to having you guys back in a couple of weeks to tell us all about the after party chaos that went on after that gig.
We want all the juicy goss, all right? We want it all.
Yeah.
Not just the good stuff. We want the bad.
It's that particularly, yes. Oh dear.
Yes. No, great pictures, and great to see the event turned out really well for them. That's fantastic. And I do apologise about my plane getting cancelled. Otherwise, I would have been there too.
Nice. Yeah, it's really pleasing, isn't it, to see that went really well, and you know, they've had lots of orders for the book, and it seems like it's going to go well, which is fantastic.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
With just a little bit of help from us.
Oh, beautiful.
So,
what else has been
going? What else is going on?
Who's got the first run of news? Who wants to talk about what's been happening?
Well, New Zealand thrashed Australia in the opening of the T20 World Cup, and I mean thrashed them. So we're all cricket fans here, and it's not often in New Zealand they can get to wave the banner of thrashing Australia in Australia in cricket. I think the last time that happened was back in 1956. So certainly a few years, Brad. So give this Kiwi one minute of flag waving, please.
Okay, go on then. There's all, for some reason, all the airports are lined with New Zealanders flying out of Australia.
We know which ones they are too. They're the bad ones. They're the ones you guys are kicking out.
Go on, get out. No, I'm joking.
Off you go. Don't come back.
Yeah, no, it's good. So, what's been happening with yourself, Jim? What have you been up to?
Yeah, well, nothing. I mean, my life's pretty boring, but I'd like to give a shout out for my son's band. He's in a band called White Lines, and they've been playing some gigs lately. And they've got some stuff. There's some of their music on streaming platforms, Spotify and that stuff. He's playing the bass in the band. He's a guitar player, but in this band he's playing bass. So they've played a couple of shows recently, and I haven't heard from the last one. They're hoping to catch up. They had some promoter there looking at them, so they're hoping to get some sort of deal which might lend them a few more gigs. But they're just playing around. They're not getting on planes to play gigs like you, Brad. They're just going to locally and across to Inverness. Played a gig there recently and a couple in Aberdeen. So he was in a band before, and they played quite a few gigs, including one in Leeds where I think they had about 3 people in the audience, but they're doing pretty good. So that would be my shout out to White Line and Jay.
Wonderful. You'll have to send the link through to Andrew at some point, and Andrew might share it in the YouTube card for you there, Jim.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, you haven't been in a band if you haven't played to 3 people, have you, Jim? You know, it's all part of being in a band. You've got to have played to 3 people, otherwise.
They phoned me once. They'd broken down outside London, and I got this phone call saying our van's broken down. I was like, well, what do you expect me to do about it? I was annoyed about it when I heard the reason. They'd all been charging their mobile phones, and they'd left one charging overnight, tucked away, you know. So it just drained the battery. That was the reason the thing wouldn't start. The smartest thing to do.
See, and there is a modern day problem for you in a nutshell, isn't it? You left your mobile phone charging overnight, and then now the van doesn't start.
Oh goodness!
Yeah, God, I've played a few gigs. I've played one gig to no audience at all for the entire evening, just 2 bar staff. That was it. Nobody else at all.
Did they like it though, Simon? Did they applaud?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. They did like it. They said we were great, but yeah, it's how nobody else did because nobody else came. It's a windswept Thursday night in Shepton Mallet or something. I don't know. That doesn't mean anything to anybody except Jim. But
did you get paid?
Yes, we got paid.
That's all that matters.
We got the money, and we had a good practice, so that was all right. Paid to practice.
Paid rehearsal. That's all.
Paid rehearsal. As long
as you get money, then you get the hell out of there. Hit and run.
Yeah, well, it worked. So I was very happy with that.
Oh, that's good. And,
unlike you, Brad, who's been playing in packed theatres and stadiums.
Well, the wonderful thing about playing not stadiums, theatres, is the venues are wonderful. They're very beautiful to play in, and they set a wonderful mood for the audience, which is a bit different to a pub gig, obviously. I love playing pub gigs just as much as I love playing theatre shows. Right? And I've done my fair share of playing to hardly anyone, if not no one. I don't think I've ever done a gig where I don't anyone, but I've done gigs where there's been only a handful of people in the crowd before, many years ago, that's for sure.
Yeah, using the word crowd loosely, yes.
Very loosely.
Very loosely. Not much crowd, yes. Marvellous.
So, Andrew, I see something a little bit unique hanging on your wall in the back there, mate. It's like a little mini-me version of something.
I'll show you mine if you show me your one first.
Oh God, that's what she said.
Dear God.
I'm serious, bro. Pull out that one that you got there.
Well, through the week, something popped up that was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. So this is a 2022 Fender Strat. It's what they call American Performer. American Performer. It's a US model in honeyburst with a rosewood fretboard. Sorry, which I haven't got a rosewood fretboard guitar. It's all clean, big headstock. If you want the Jimi Hendrix look, and
of course you do.
It's got a wonderful little setup, which I'm getting used to at the moment, which is it's got a push-pull on the rear tone control, that brings the neck pickup in any position. So if you go to number 2 position, which usually is your bridge and your middle pickup, it brings the neck in as well. So it's a very unique tone. Very unique tone. So on the bridge pickup, you've got your bridge and your neck running together. On your 2 position, you've got the 3 pickups running. Obviously, in your 2 position, you've got those. In your 3 position, 2 positions the same, and then obviously, so really, it's only those first 3 that make it the difference, if that makes sense. But very tonality, it gives you a bit more squank, a bit more honk. If anything, in that position where you got your bridge and your neck running together, it's very Telecaster vibe. Very cool. I was not in the market for buying a guitar. Definitely not in the market, trying to save money, obviously, and not spend money. But this thing came up through a source that the price was just too good to knock back. And I'll leave it at that because I can't say too much. But that's my new Strat. I wasn't even in the market for buying the Strat. How's that?
She's beautiful.
People are watching. Yes.
So
lovely. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
If I when I get out playing my own shows, if I'm traveling interstate and overseas and everything like that, I'll be taking this guitar because it's a purpose guitar. That's why I bought it. I thought, well, you know what? For that price, it's going to be my road guitar. That's going to be the one. That's going to be the one that tours. So if you're interested, you can look up on the Fender website. It's called the American Performer Series, which is entry level for USA models. Great guitar. Highly recommend it. Sounds fantastic. Beautiful neck. It's got a nice 9-point, something radius neck, and it's a C shape back of the neck, so it's nice and comfy, and it's just got all the stuff that you want on a Strat rosewood neck, in my opinion. Very nice. So there you go, guys.
Beautiful.
Can't go wrong with the Strat.
Can't go wrong with the Strat. No, absolutely.
100%. It's got also some Yosemite pickups in it, which sound great. And it's got also what they call a unique tone control for the bridge, and it's like a mud. It's
a treble bleed, is it? Is it a treble?
You can get a beautiful woman tone on it. I was playing "Sunshine of Your Love" on the bridge pickup. Sounded fantastic when I rolled the tone back. Unreal.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Ah, beautiful. Cool. Brad, fantastic. Yeah.
New guitar day.
New NGD. Yes. Very nice.
Yeah.
Lovely guitar. Yeah, I, ladies and gentlemen, picked up this. It's a 1975 Maya, made in Japan, half-size Les Paul from a friend of mine. Damasio pickup. Apparently they came out, and I didn't. So were they making Damasios in the early 70s? I don't know, but apparently, apparently, if it didn't come standard with one, someone's put this in there because apparently you can tell by looking at the bobbin. Sounds great. Interesting size to play. Brad, I only got it because of Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen had one, obviously with double humbuckers for little guitars. What else? Bolt-on neck. And one other thing, guys, it had 9s on here, and they were horrible. It felt like noodles. It felt like cold noodles. I put 12s on here. Put 12s on. It's got some nice tension, and it holds the tuning. So
12s. Look at that.
Yeah.
Well done.
So
it looks like a little what do you call it? Looks like a little Ace Frehley guitar.
Yeah, but it sounds good. It plays well. I changed. It had speed knobs on it. I don't like them, so I just changed it for these 1950s knobs.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Proper.
Not as good as your Strat though. I'll swap this with your Strat any day.
I would have bought if I saw it floating around, but yeah, no,
I like
thanks,
old
guys.
stuff. I like old stuff, especially if you can get it cheap too. You know, if you can get it cheap. Yeah.
Well, I'm yet to buy a guitar that's from 1975 myself because that's my birth year, so I'm looking for one.
Go. Good
Ooh.
boy.
Ooh. By the way, DiMarzio pickups since 1972.
Wow.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
First company to start doing replacement pickups, I think.
Beautiful.
Guitars.
Yeah, I thought 78, 79, but yeah, okay, 72. So,
72.
okay, there is some credence in that story then.
Yeah,
Rock
yeah.
Professor, you want to do a quick shout out? We got 9 people in here, including ourselves. I think we should do a.
Making up the numbers.
Yeah, including ourselves. But no one's counting. It's the quality, the content.
Run around and make like a crowd, chaps. Yes. So we've got Keith Campbell. Good morning, Keith. Let's have a Derek Clacton. Morning, Derek. Who will doubtlessly be catching up later. But thanks for dropping by, Derek, and thanks for the comment. You always leave great comments. Tim Thomas. Good morning, Tim. Hope you're well. Talking with Keith Campbell about Padres and Yankees, whatever that is.
Yeah, Yankees got done.
Baseball thing, is it? And we've got Johnny Heartbreaker. Morning, Johnny. Hope you're well.
Johnny.
Adam Roach as well. Morning, Adam Roach. Good to see you. Hope you're good. Who else you got? Tim Thomas. Some bloke called Simon Williams. Ellen. Good morning, Ellen. Hope you're well.
Hey, Alan.
Yeah. Gretch Zeppelin as well. Good morning, Gretch. And, I think that's everybody who's made a comment. I hope so. Hopefully I got everybody. So good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. As ever, good to see you. And raring to go for another dazzling show. And that rhymes.
Beautiful.
That's a point. Yeah. Fantastic. So, what we doing today, kids?
Right. Should I kick off now? Are you ready?
I think so.
Right, we'll go for it.
Jim. Yeah.
Okay, well, we're doing Jeff Beck's Guitar Shop today. So just a little background to kind of introduce the album. First of all, I first sort of encountered Jeff Beck in 1975 when I was 15. A friend had bought Truth. We listened to Truth, and we listened to that a lot. Around that time, listening to some great albums: Who Live at Leeds, Freeze, Fire and Water, and Physical Graffiti. Not a bad collection of records to listen to when you were a young lad. Made a big impression on us both. And then afterwards, in 1975, when Blow by Blow came out, I bought a copy of that. Like that was a bit different for me at the time because it wasn't kind of straight ahead rock. It was kind of jazz influenced, where Jeff stayed there for a while. So this group was put together in, I think, 1988. Jeff had an association with the keyboard player Tony Hymas then for about 10 years. He'd been on Jeff's album There and Back, and they hooked up with Terry Bozzio, who played with, that's the guy, the blonde-haired guy, who played with Frank Zappa's band. I'm not very familiar with Frank Zappa's music, but an incredible drummer. And Tony Hymas has kind of written a number of Jeff's songs over the years, so they've kind of had a long association. They started recording this album in 1988 in studios in Oxfordshire, in Chipping Norton, Simon, of all places.
Chipping Norton, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And but they moved. There was an opportunity to move to Jimmy Page's studios, which were known as the Soul Studios. Soul means sun, so I don't know if that's a link in with the Sun Studios that were more famous across in America. And they'd previously been owned by Gus Dudgeon, the producer, famous for, I think, producing Elton John and other people. Yeah. Now, working in the studios at the time is a guy, and I'm going to see if I pronounce this right. I think it's Leif Mazes or Leif Mazes, who you might know was an engineer who worked with Led Zeppelin on In Through the Outdoor and Coda, and then was involved in being an engineer for Jimmy Page when he produced his solo album, kind of Outrider. So great kind of pedigree of musicians came together with Jeff, and a good engineer. So you were kind of in for a good treat. So I'll just go into the. Should I go into the first song? Is that enough on the intro, or does anyone want to add anything to that?
I don't know. We normally go around and see where people came across this album.
Yeah.
Before we start, I don't know if anyone else has come across it. I'll go. Yeah. I've not. This is the first time I've heard this record. I've not heard it before, so it was a new experience for me. I got Wired and Blow by Blow when they came out. I had those when they came out in the mid-70s. When I really liked those with Jan Hammer on the stuff. I really like those. That I'm going to use the F word, fusion, jazz fusion. I sort of disappeared off the radar by the time this came out in '89. It's not really. So it's really interesting to go and listen to it as a fresh album. Yeah, it's been really good. I did know one of the tracks on it, but not anything else. I don't know what about you, Brad? Have you heard it before?
I have heard it a very long time ago, actually. I was more into like the Jeff Beck group. I was a big fan of the Rough and Ready album, the Jeff Beck album, the Jeff Beck group, and Beckler. I had Blow by Blow, Wired. I've had the 80s copies of Jeff Beck stuff. I wasn't an avid collector of, but I have got this on CD, and I've got There and Back. So there's just something. At the time, I was more into that Jeff Beck group, but I was searching for more of a let's say a similar sound to that Zeppelin and that sort of vibe, and I was chasing that a little bit more when I was getting heavily into Jeff Beck. But to revisit this album after maybe a decade, I reckon it's been since I've actually listened to it. It's very refreshing to hear. And I mean, I love Jeff Beck as a player. I think he's absolutely brilliant. And for 90% of the stuff he does, it's almost for us mere mortals, it's not really attainable. We can't play like that. He plays a certain way that anyone can play like. He's influenced so many people, and but definitely this album I've heard before. It would have been more a case of this would have been one of the last sort of albums I heard of Jeff Beck through that 90s period when I was getting right into Jeff Beck. Back in the mid 90s, I started with the Jeff Beck group, and I was but all the Jeff Beck stuff came from the Yardbirds. I was listening to the Yardbirds, and then obviously because of Zeppelin and the friendship and everything that Jeff Beck had with Jimmy Page and friendly rivalry and stuff like that, I got into the Jeff Beck group for that reason. Yeah, Andrew, when did you hear this album before? Have you heard this before?
Yeah. G'day, Andrew from Digital and Drops. Yeah, I did, bro. Yeah. I got this album not long after it came out. I was hanging out with a couple of guys, and we were heavily involved in immersing ourselves into Clapton around the time. I definitely bought this album after Journeyman. So it may have been even 1990 when I got this album. And I'm going to be honest and truthful with you. When I first heard this album, I didn't quite get it. There was some sophisticated stuff going on in this album. When you compare it, for example, to a lot of the stuff that's on Journeyman, for example. I kind of buried it. And the only reason why I sort of made that connection to Jeff Beck on this album is exactly what you said, Brad. It was because I was already aware of Truth, already aware of the stuff that he did, Beckola, or was already familiar with it, already had that under my belt. So listening to that after knowing this was a big departure in tone. But I certainly went back and discovered this, at least half a dozen times over the years. and it's definitely a great album. Really enjoyed going through this album this week. Hugely influential album.
100%. 100%. Well, I reckon we dive straight into it, Jim. I reckon
Yeah.
you want to go for your ranking.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I mean, I had got the previous album that came out called Flash, and I didn't like it, so I'd kind of just lost a bit of interest. It was Jeff was singing on it. He'd got it was kind of more song based, and it was trying to be quite contemporary. I think Nile Rodgers was involved, and it wasn't a great album. So I kind of didn't know what Jeff was up to, and I think I saw a little review of this in Guitar Player magazine, and I thought, oh, this sounds worth checking out. So I got hold of it. So the first track kicks off with is called Guitar Shop. And it starts with thundering drum intro, kind of a bit Bonham-esque, I think. And I think the aim that Jeff had with this track was to try and mimic what it sounds like when you step into a guitar store on a Saturday morning and people all playing and trying to get a sound out of their guitars. And there's a lot of energy in the shop. And he was trying to kind of, I guess, capture that energy. It's got a kind of voiceover on this. I wouldn't call it a vocal. It's kind of like a humorous kind of sales pitch from a kind of a guitar shop salesman. And Jeff's guitar kind of blazes away through that really kind of strong drumming. I mean, I think I'm going to give this 9 out of 10. It's a great intro to an album. It just blasts you and it just pulls you into the music, and it rocks hard. And so 9 out of 10 for me. A great start to the records. So I think that's over to Brad next.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Jim. You've probably been reading some of my notes, as everyone else does here. Look, it's a sonic landscape that was really relevant to that late 90s sound, late 80s sound, in my opinion. This song and this album completely has that very late 80s feel and sound about it. Some great playing, some slide there, full of guitar tricks, lots of tremolo work that he's well known for now. Interesting drums, very big, and that, like you mentioned, something about that Bonham feel. John Bonham feel, very loose vibe, very behind the beat a little bit of swing there. The program keyboard lines that add a lot of character. The voiceover thing was more of a humorous spin, not a vocal, in my opinion. It was, if anything, it's a bit of a laughing point about. I think that's just the humorous side of Jeff Beck coming through, and Jeff's definitely experimenting on this album, and this first track obviously proves it. It's a long way away from Blow by Blow. It's a complete contrast, and that's not a bad thing. And especially when you think about other artists that were releasing albums in this late 80s period, there was a lot of synth stuff with keyboards, pads, and different patches that have that very 80s sound and ambient sound. Great way to start the album. I gave it a 9 out of 10 as well, Jim. And I'll pass it over to, I think, Simon, you're next.
I am, yeah. Yes, not a huge amount to add on those things. I think that for me, the drum sound is a very 80s drum sound, isn't it? I mean, that, it's it absolutely pegs it to that era straight away. Just that opening a flurry of drums. I think Jeff is doing his usual stuff, trying to a palette of sounds and different ways of playing. I did write down in the solos, typical Beck aggressive playing. He really is an angry man, isn't he? Underneath it. Yeah. There is something about his playing that when he's going at it, that you just think, you know what, Jeff, calm yourself. It's fine. But it's great. I mean, it's fantastic playing, and he knows how to go at it like few others. Yes, and the kind of, as you said, the kind of keyboard splashes, and the way of using the keyboards on those different sounds is, clearly that 80s exploration of the electronic stuff, and those keyboards do kind of remind me a lot of the 80s. The keyboard sounds on it as well, which is interesting. I gave it 8.5 out of 10, but never a skip. I think it's a strong opening to the record. I could see why you chose it. It's that massive drum sound really propels it as well. Andrew.
Hey John, ZD351, good to see you, brother. Oh, look, immediately that percussive vibe and that reverb splash is distinctly 80s, 100%, and we've all identified that, haven't we? At that 55-second mark, though, you got some nice touch going on by Beck. There's a unique ability on this track to mesh that percussion, that sound, that 80s sound with his guitar technique, and I like that. Brad, it's full shred. You've got that nice pop vibe going on there, and that's only because of the keyboards. When I hear that, it's got that going on. Blistering guitar work. Jim, there's no backfire here. There's no backfire on this. I'm giving this, like Brad and you, a 9 out of 10. Great opener to a interesting album. Jim.
Yeah, great. Okay, and definitely kind of 80s, but a lot of 80s stuff I think is kind of dated and doesn't stand up too well, but I think this holds out quite well in terms of those kind of sounds. I think Jeff does it well here, but yeah, great start to the album. The second track's called Savoy. As most of the album here, it's instrumental, in fact, totally, other than some of these kind of spoken bits that come in. Savoy starts with a pretty strong rock riff that sits there for a while. Then I think there's a kind of octaves kind of part. There's a lot of variety in the track, keeps it interesting. It rocks hard, but it also swings. Thanks to the drumming and some lovely rolling piano type effects that are kind of played by the keyboard. Yeah, I really like the piano parts on this, the keyboard parts. And according to the biography, Jeff used his Oxblood Les Paul on this and his Gretsch Duo Jet. A bit of a guitar dream for me. I would say I'd push this up a bit. I think kind of more serious. I think 9.5 out of 10 would be my score. It's never a skip for me, straight into it. I think you're pretty hooked into the album by the end of this track. And it goes forward with some great variety. So, yeah, great opening for me. 2 really, really strong tracks. Pulls you in. So over to you, Brad.
Nice, Jim. Yeah, Savoy. It's a cool riff, isn't it? It's a very cool riff. Interesting effects that are being used on the guitar. The drums, very technical and tight. But I guess that's that whole session drummer style too that was very popular through the 80s, late 80s. The keyboard playing I put is great. It's definitely, by the time you've got into this song, you're definitely hooked into the album. Like you said, Jim, by the end of this song, you're definitely hooked into the album. Another very late 80s sort of sound to the song, and it's the whole theme like that through the album. Nice change of tempo at 2 minutes 46, and then there's that insane guitar solo or insane guitar playing at that point. Look, I gave it a 9 out of 10 and never a skip as well, Jim. I'll pass it over to Simon.
Yeah, interesting to me the contrast in the drum sound. It's a much more natural drum sound on the second track than there is on the first one.
100%.
And I think also that it's a much more kind of funky swimming drums as well than the first track, which are very rock and very big and very in your face. Whereas this is much more laying down a groove that over which Jeff can do his stuff on, and the keyboards as well. So I think it's definitely a bit of a contrast there between the first 2 numbers, but really cool. You've mentioned the piano as well. I mentioned that. I kind of got a shade of kind of Stevie Wonder in this as well, kind of that kind of funky style in it. That and interesting. I don't the sounds of the cheering crowds halfway through. I'm not quite sure where that comes from, but that kind of stadium sort of crowd noise that they have halfway through. I don't know where that came from, but so probably one of Jeff's famous, humorous things to do, isn't it? Kind of thing.
Yeah, throw crowd noise.
Is it crowd noise? It is crowd noise, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not making it up. It's always possible I'm making it up, for sure. But I don't think I was. No, it's just funny. As you say, a fantastic solo as well. Jeff giving it his all and stuff. 9 out of 10 from me. Never a skip. Fantastic second track for me. Really good. Andrew.
Yeah, I'm not going to add much other than I like the interplay between the keyboards that you guys have identified. It's interesting that Simon has tagged it into a bit of Stevie. I tagged it into a bit of Jan Hammer, sort of that vibe going on there, and the start of Miami Vice kind of thing going on there, which is, all part and parcel of what was happening at that time. I just want to back up with what Jim said too about the an album sounding like the 80s. There's nothing wrong with an album if it sounds like the 80s. I don't, I don't see that as being a negative or a positive. There's certainly a couple of songs on here, Jim, I think that are definitely products of the 80s, but that's a good thing because obviously they have to reflect back what they're hearing. And I think this is one of the great things about these albums that we do, because I do get locked into that kind of, because I'm old, I remember those times, and I get locked into it, Jim, and I think it's fantastic. But I do love the interplay between the keys and the drums. I'm glad the Rock Professor mentioned that too, because the drums are sounding a little bit different here than they did on the first track. A little bit more clearer. Still got that 80s splash going on, but a little bit more classic Brad.
Yeah.
I'm giving this 8.5 out of 10. Good follow up.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew. I think it's back to me then. And the next track, it's probably worth saying that there's no bass guitar on this album. It's done the keyboards. Kind of probably should have said that from the outset. So, if you look at a traditional guitar trio, you might have thought guitar, bass, and drums. But this is guitar, keyboards, and drums. But the bass parts are handled, I think, pretty well by Tony throughout the kind of album. This next track moves us into. I absolutely love this next track. It moves into reggae. So one of the nice things about an album is it's not locked into a particular feel. There's a lot of variety and diversity on this record, and it starts. I think I'm not sure just how to describe it, but that kind of keyboard organ sound is like, I think maybe like a pipe organ. I'm not sure I've got the right kind of description for that, but it's a very inventive kind of instrumental track. You don't lose your interest. Sometimes on guitar instrumentals, you can find yourself drifting a little bit as you go through a tune. You can maybe lose a little bit of interest in it, or it gets a bit repetitive. But this keeps the interest for me all the way through. The guitar tones are amazing. With Jeff, you always get that kind of aggression, obviously, and the guitar growls here in parts. The guitar growls, but it sings and it soars as well. So it's like there's just a real mastery to the kind of playing, and I don't think I know many times Jeff's gone into that kind of reggae vibe, but he's certainly nailed it with this. And this is a 10 out of 10 for me, because I just really love this instrumental track. So over to you, Simon.
It's Brad next, isn't it?
I'll go.
Yeah,
Brad. That's okay. Yeah, look, this song definitely has that reggae feel, doesn't it, Jim? And I love how Jeff Beck does that real plunky guitar sound. There's something quite unique about his playing. He gets a plunk out of the guitar. It's like this little snappiness that he gets out of those strings. And the drum is really tight, really locked in. There's some great overdub guitars in this song too. He's layering throughout the album when he overdubs guitars is fantastic. He does a great job. I'll put here, it's a sonic landscape vibe with keyboard patches and sounds, and Jeff Beck, his genius with his melodies and making the guitar sound vocal. There's something about the way he plays. It's very, he's trying to emulate a singer's voice with a lot of his lines and his melodic stuff. I gave it a 9 out of 10, Jim, and Andrew and Simon, and it's never a skip for me.
No.
Simon, you're next now.
Hold on. I'll drop you guys out. Hold on. No, that didn't work.
Was it?
I thought that may have switched you guys around. No, it's okay.
No,
Get on with the show.
No, it's fine.
Jim might say, what's going on here? Bloody amateurs.
You've got to use your finger to drag us around the screen, like dogs on a lead. So, yeah, the third track, as you said, is a kind of reggae thing. Reminded me very much of The Police as well. Certainly at the beginning, you know, that kind of very kind of, you know, the drums as well, very Stuart Copeland, and that kind of vibe is very Bed's Too Big Without You. I got from this as a sort of as a reference point. If you've never heard it before, if you know The Police's Bed's Too Big Without You, it kind of got that. It's the space, isn't it? The space that it gives you, and complete contrast to the last track. I think I'd echo what you said, that it's a sort of kind of that, it's got that kind of, I put down the guitar stuff that Jeff is playing is a bit more of the fusion stuff that he did on Blow by Blow and Wired. There's definitely a link back to those, but the use of the sounds as different textures and dynamics and things, I think, is uniquely Jeff Beck, really. Clearly, because you don't sing, you have to do, you know, the guitar has to take the take the weight of that, a guitar and a keyboards as well, and I think they do. It's, you know, do a fantastic job on this, and I think those textures and those dynamics are really to the fore in this, in what he's playing and the way he's playing, and the keys as well. And as you say, Jim, the keys filling in the bass guitar. Took me about now to realise there wasn't a bass guitar on it, because I only made a note of it on this track. But yeah, and it's got those kind of elements of dub about it as well that he brings in as a textural thing. In fact, there isn't much bass on this, to be honest. It's quite, but yeah, I gave this an 8.5 out of 10. Never a skip, and a really interesting contrast to the previous track. Andrew.
Yeah, it's got a nice vibe. You know, it's got that at the 1:03 mark, you've got that gliding, delicate guitar work that echoes into that funk reggae groove we all identified that we love. It's an immediate contrast from Savoy, which is one of the reasons why I particularly like this track. I'm going to say that Clapton must have been influenced by this album when it came to him recording his Rush soundtrack a couple of years later, because there are bits and pieces on that soundtrack that's coming off this song and a couple of others. So hugely influential album. Brad, you know, there's nice gear changes here on this number. I like that. I've only given it an 8.5 out of 10, though, not quite a 9, but I do like the song. I do like it. Never a skip. Jim.
You guys are mean with your scoring, I think. But
but you've got to put it in the context of the others, Jim. You know, what else am I going to do later? You know.
Yeah, well, it'll be gloves off if we don't agree on this next one. So this is called Big Block, and this has become, I guess, a staple of Jeff Beck's kind of live set over the years, and it's an incredibly powerful piece. Does, for me, bring some echoes of kind of that Zeppelin sound. It's massive, and I think he played it on his Strat with a 100-watt Marshall, and you can just hear the kind of power in the playing. I think the engineer might have been a bit deaf at the end of this. There's some incredible guitar playing, great riffs. For me, it's kind of both kind of breathtaking and menacing as a kind of instrumental tune. And I didn't think I'd ever do this, but this has got to be got to be, without any shadow of a doubt for me, a Brad score. So I'd give it, it's got to be this. And because you don't get much more kind of just standing on it, and you're going to go out there and play to it, give people what they want. This is a bit of Jeff. Jeff was a bit reticent, I think, at times, of going back to some of the stuff that he played with the Jeff Beck group. You know, I was at a show where he actually teased a little bit of "I Ain't Superstitious," and the crowd went nuts, and then he didn't play it. There was no vocalist, of course, but I think is this just Jeff's going, hell, I'll just give people what they want, and this is real powerful rocking number. It does have some swing in it. As I say, breathtaking and menacing. Brad score 100 out of 10.
Get
I like
in.
it. I like it.
Over to you, Brad.
Look, that's fantastic song description there, Jim. Thank you. For me, this song, it's a cool intro with that riff, isn't it? And Jeff unleashes some wonderful rhythm guitar playing in this song and some fascinating lead guitar work. Around that 2-minute 5-second mark, there's that change is fantastic. It gets down and a bit dirty. 2 minutes sort of 30 around that point, the lead guitar playing area is just, it's next level. It's almost not human, or to us mere mortals, it's almost like, you know, there's no possibility of anyone being able to play like that. It's definitely a product of, you know, Jeff Beck. This song, you can definitely tell it's Jeff Beck, and some outstanding drumming on it. And listening to this made me think of one of my favorite versions of this song, which is live at Ronnie Scott's, that was done. I don't know, when was it? 2008 or something like that. That version on there is fantastic as well. But yes, I love this one. I definitely have to give this one, 100 out of 10. It's right up there, Jim. So yeah, I'll pass that over to Simon. But great song, fantastic.
Yes, I mean it's a sort of it's a blues masterpiece, isn't it? It's, as you say, Jim, going back to his blues rock roots, and it's a complete masterpiece for me. It reminded me that is Joe Walsh, Rocky Mountain Way, isn't it? It just is got that kind of, as you say, Jim, that kind of mixture of sort of menace and dynamics and things. It's fantastic, yeah. So I've got an echo of that in my head whenever I listen to it. It's which I think is a good thing, by the way, not a bad thing. It's so great drums and stuff, and Jeff doing. Does he play slide on this? Some of it is slide. I got the impression. I don't know. I never quite know with Jeff whether he's actually doing slide or whether he's doing it with his fingers. To be honest.
Yeah, he's got a way of using the trem bar as well that makes it sound slide oriented. So I'm not 100% sure. There's a couple of things on the album you can really tell he's playing slide though. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I put slide work question mark, so I wasn't sure. But I thought the boys will tell me whether I'm right or not. but it's I don't know if he's doing it just with his fingers. Then hats off to it. It's sorry, I can do something about it, John. I can make it a bit, tilt it round a bit so that it's not in my face. But so yeah, I mean, clearly a 10 out of 10, never a skip. One of the standout tracks on the album for sure. As I think Jeff plays fantastically on the solo. Doing what only Jeff can do. And yeah, 10 out of 10, never a skip. Andrew.
Whatever's playing the bass, whether it's the keyboards or something, I don't know. It punches deep, and this is the first taste that we get back with some real crunch. And Jim's already explained the reason why, because he's playing it turned up to 10 through his Marshall, and I love that. Brad, I've got tasty, yummy, supercharged. That's it. Tasty, yummy, supercharged.
It's in all the reviews. It's in all the reviews.
10 out of 10. Not quite a Brad score.
Well, Brad's got my approval on that one. But yeah, great track, great track. Okay.
Mhm.
So, as we used to say in Monty Python, and now for something completely different. We have the song, we have the tune "Where Were You," and this is again a masterpiece of guitar playing. Ethereal was the word I came up with to kind of describe this. It's beautiful. It's quite a moving. I find it quite emotional listening to this. There's just an incredible tone, unbelievable technique. I mean, I can't even understand it. You know, there's a use of the kind of whammy bar, I think harmonics. I think he plays behind the nut, so he's kind of plucking the strings, and so there's an awful lot going on in this. Volume swells as well, just a whole range of things, and I bit of reading I did, and it was he did play this. He at the time of this album was coming out, he had his prototype Jeff Beck Fender signature guitar that was coming out, a bit different from the one that they're selling now. And this was I think played on the Surf Green one, and it is just an amazing song. It's on that Ronnie Scott album that you mentioned. I think he kind of closes the show with that. It's kind of like a perfect way to leave an audience, just to kind of come down nicely. And for me, it's totally different from Big Block, but again, for different reasons. This is another Brad score for me. So to have two Brad scores on one album, and I just can't say enough about it. I just think it's a musician connected to. It's not just about technique. There's real musicality in this, real understanding. It just flows from his veins into the music. Jeff Beck. He almost did a full classical album, and I heard a thing on YouTube the other week of him playing one of Mahler's pieces, and there's not many musicians that can approach that kind of stuff. It's just it shows that he's got. I think he's one of the most uniquely talented melodic musicians. Can play aggressive, can do everything really. He is the guitarist's guitarist. It's a Brad score for me, 100 out of 10. Beautiful, beautiful song. Thank you. And it's over to Brad.
Well, Simon and Andrew, I think we should just pack up and go home. Jim's doing such a great job, We'll just leave it to Jim. What do you think? We'll go home. Or we are home, but we'll just...
Oh, look at that. Look at us. We're always in for the cheap gag.
Oh, God. Yeah. No, well done, Jim. That's fantastic. You've stolen a few of my notes here. I'll try and sidestep around what you've said already, Jim. I put here beautiful melodic intro. The song really pulls you in. It's emotive. There's some extremely good guitar playing from Jeff Beck on this. It's a perfect example of his ability to adapt sonic performance with delicate playing and touch on the strings. He pulls you in. The keyboard underneath the lines that he's playing is very mood setting. It's ethereal, and it's a stellar performance from Jeff Beck. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. Never a skip. Simon.
No, indeed. Apparently, it was played at Rick Wright's funeral. There we are. That's my little tidbit of information about this song. I mean, it's a beautiful song, and that, as you've said, Jim, that ethereal, spacey, melodic sound. That interestingly, I think the 80s being the era of the guitar effects and all of those things that clearly being used, in not something he could have done in the 70s or the 60s, because there wasn't really the gear around to do it. Would have been a very different thing. So I think this, making full use of the technology as well as the technique. It's a beautiful melody. I mean, he just, as you've said, the use of the volume knob, harmonics, all the things that he does are just incredible playing, really incredible feel. And it's the most beautiful track, I think, and you know, it's clearly a 10 out of 10 and never a skip as a as a track. Andrew.
Just give me 2 seconds, mate. Somebody is texting me from the Jeff Beck Facebook group that has 57,000 members. We've just put our feed on there. We've just been
furious.
Yeah. So getting some good feedback for the channel. It's always great. If you guys are watching on a replay, we do appreciate you hanging out with us. We're an hour into the show. If you have got this far and you haven't subscribed to us, please subscribe to us and we'll subscribe back to you. We'd love to reciprocate there. Where are you? Where are you at? Brad, Jim, and Rock Professor. It's the tone that became synonymous in my mind, in my ears, with Beck. It's the tone that defined him from this point in '89 forward. It's delicately infused with those background keyboards, which is just fantastic. Brad, it's a catalytic converter for me. This is my Brad score. This is the one mandatory track on this album. This is the signpost song for Beck on every other album that he's done from that point moving forward.
Great point.
It's a remarkable song.
Well done, Andrew.
Thank you, brother.
Well
Yeah. That's a really good point, Andrew. Really good point.
Yeah, and I just forgot to say one thing. There's a little link for me with the There and Back album. There's a track at the end of that called "The Final Piece," which was very kind of similar. Well, not, I think this is in the same neighborhood in terms of kind of playing, and I remember that track, sitting at the end of the album, just being really beautiful. So this guy, just an amazing guitar player, amazing musician, and just wonderful. I think you can just hear some incredible things on this album. So, Andrew, that takes us to the end of side one. If the album finished then and there was no more songs, I wouldn't feel cheated. I'd be quite happy with it. But we do have a side two to talk about. But I think you want to show some photos at this juncture.
No problem. So, ladies and gentlemen, this segment of this week's photos are brought to you by these two handsome, fine-looking men.
Morning, Quentin.
Always appreciate plugging our sponsors on our channel here.
From one clickbait to the next, yes.
This is more.
So I'm going to fire the picks up. So you guys want to talk about this guitar? It's got an interesting. It's had an interesting legacy, hasn't it?
Jim, do you want to elaborate a little bit since
I mean, this is a guitar that's very associated with Jeff Beck over the years. I think I might be wrong, but is this the guitar that's featured on the cover, the back cover of Photograph of Blow by Blow? I'm not sure, but he's certainly playing that in these days, and it's just a beautiful guitar. When I think of Jeff Beck, I kind of think of this thing. As I said, he did use this along with his Gretsch Duo Jet on the album, so it's worth featuring. It'd be great to get a book of Jeff Beck's guitars. I think to see the range of things he manages to play. Telecaster. He plays the Stratocaster, obviously, but he's got lots of other guitars that he uses, and just sounds amazing. I'm always struck with his playing that he can just about sound like anyone. He can do all that kind of Gene Vincent, the 50s stuff, just without any trouble. Just one of the most versatile musicians we've got, but he certainly has the tools to help him deliver that. But so that's probably all I'd say on that. Yeah.
And this guitar originally was a gold top.
Yes.
Reefing.
Yeah. So and had the pickups changed too, I understand as well too, Brad. So it's had a bit of work on it. So
it took the so-fars out. Yeah, the whatever the P90s, I think they were.
The P90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Put some humbuckers in there to to, because that's what guitar players do.
Especially back then, of course. Especially then they were just tools, weren't they? When you go back to the late 60s, early 70s, they were tools. They weren't vintage guitars worth hundreds of thousands of pounds. So you did do things like that, don't you? You did go out, change them, change the pickups, change the things, shave the necks, do all sorts of different, modifications to them. And stuff.
Similar to what you're seeing with the album cover, Jeff looks like he's doing a little maintenance repair job on his Strat.
Yeah.
It's a
Stratocaster,
cover, isn't it? Brilliant cover.
Yeah. One of the classic Strat. One of the classic Strat albums, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Fantastic. Band. Yes, the band. Jeff looking very cool, actually. In his surf green Strat.
Yeah.
Well, I have a surf green Strat. No more guitars, Brad. Don't buy any more guitars.
Brad's going to demonstrate this move with his new Fender he's got there.
Yeah,
that's demonstrating that the 3-bolt neck is as strong as the 4-bolt.
Oh. If you guys subscribe to Brad's Instagram, he's going to be doing, if you monitor him over the next 24 hours, he's going to be doing something like that with his Stratocaster. He promised us.
He's going to put it between two chairs and stand on it.
Listen, if I get 100 subscribers overnight, I'll do it, all
right? Careful, Brad, careful.
Be careful what you wish for.
Oh, God.
There's another trio kind of referenced in that picture. He's obviously got a Beck, Boga, and Apis t-shirt on there, I think. So Jeff's no stranger to the guitar trio over the time. There you go. That's Jeff with Stevie Ray Vaughan. So after this came out, he toured the States with Stevie. Unfortunately, that was the end of it. I did see Jeff play in. It was actually on my birthday in 1990 in Edinburgh, and no Stevie Ray Vaughan at that time, but he was playing a lot of the tracks from Guitar Shop, and it was pretty impressive. Not a sellout though. I was really quite shocked when I went into the playhouse that there was quite a lot of empty seats.
Wow.
This one is worth noting because I don't think that's how the that was one of the early. That's from the Beckology box set, and you can see there the pickup there at the bridge. This double pickup there. I don't know. So that's not on the kind of current guitars. So there must have been some decision to make a change there from that. But that was this came out. Did this come out in 1988? I think this
89.
89. Okay, right.
Yeah, but I think in early 90s, the first Jeff Beck model came out with a humbucker like that.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Yeah. I may be wrong, but I'm 95% sure.
Yeah, it was a great design. That kind of presentation of the box set with the Fender case style. So
yeah,
some good people there. That's to me very much captures Jeff Beck just in the moment. Archetypal guitar hero.
Absolutely, yeah.
Don't know who that geezer is with him having a burger. Would love to
guitar player.
Be fly on the wall there and hear what they're talking about. Would be pretty interesting, I think.
100%.
Yeah, one of that triumvirate of guitar players from that little square.
He's probably saying you can pick up the tab because you made all the money, Jimmy. It's probably what he's saying.
Well, I don't think Jeff's done too badly for himself, has he? He's just trod his own path rather than gone for the the straight commercial route and stuff. But yeah, he probably took that guitar down to his car workshop, Jim, and routed it out with some car things.
Yeah,
some oily spanners.
I always hoped.
Sorry, bro.
No. I always prayed that Pagey and Beck would do an album together. I always thought that may actually happen at some point, but because of their friendship. But unfortunately, it hasn't come, to that point. So unfortunate. So, but
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
I agree. I always hoped that they were going to do something like that. I thought if they were going to do something, it would have been in the 90s, because he was getting together with a whole lot of other, guys. So I thought, that could have been on the cards.
Exactly. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think that's ever going to happen.
We like to talk about documentaries here, guys. If you haven't seen the Jeff Beck documentary, please go and see it. It's well worth it. You can download it. It's available on Apple TV. It gives you a remarkable insight into the complexity that is Jeff Beck and his attitude of basically one person. He does what he wants, and that's it.
Yeah, it is a fantastic documentary, that, isn't it? That Jeff Beck documentary. Into the singular mind of Jeff Beck.
The singular, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, they're good pictures. Thanks for those guys. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, cool
Cheers,
photos. Nice one, Jim.
Okay, should we move on to side 2? Put the needle down. Yeah, see how
Let's put the needle down on side 2.
Okay. Starts with after that kind of finish, very kind of quiet, emotional finish, we go back into kind of rock territory, and it's called "Stand on It." This track, and it has a good opening riff that sits there for a while before the drums kick in, which kind of builds up a little bit. There's some good keyboards on it, some soaring lead guitar. I think, to me, it's not the strongest. It's not the strongest track. I mean, it's pretty hard to compete with things like Big Block and some of the other things. For me, it's slightly down on some of the tracks on the first side. So, I was going to give this. I wouldn't. I like it. I would never skip it. It's an 8.5 out of 10 for me, though. It's not. It's just not. It just, for me, I just thought it needed something more. But who am I to say? But I enjoy it. And I just feel like it just needed. There's just so much imagination and on the first side, and I thought this is. It's good. It's good, but just it needed something for me, just a little bit more. But never a skip. 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, wonderful, Jim. Yeah, look, for me, stand on it. Forgive me if I'm wrong or whether I'm just too much of a ZZ Top fan, but I hear Eliminator vibes with this track. Do you guys hear that? I'm hearing ZZ Top Eliminator. I don't know why. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's very cool. I enjoyed it. Look, Jeff Beck is the king of guitar melody for me. He comes up with great melodies, and another one on this song. Great example of Jeff's ability to lock into a groove and sonically layer across a rhythm. That's what he does perfectly. I can't explain it any better than that. At 3 minutes 16, we hear some wonderful playing through the solo. Jeff, look, what can I say? You make us feel inadequate on the guitar. You make us want to hang up the Stratocaster. I gave this song a strong 8 out of 10 and never a skip. Simon.
Hey, Derek. Hey, Holly.
Well, of course, Brad, you're wrong about the Eliminator.
What's that?
I said, of course, you're wrong about the Eliminator thing.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking, of course. It reminded me a bit of "Money for Nothing" by Dire Straits. That same kind of guitar sound to it. That's what came to my mind of that and that treaty sound. I think that clearly this is, if you think about it as in album terms, this is the beginning of side 2. What you want is something loud and makes a big noise, don't you? Which this clearly does. I've written rock track ! On my notes. Oh yeah, I see what's going on here with that kind of distorted guitar riff at the beginning. And never, Holly, never. It's with those huge drums and stuff, and that kind of very 80s synth horn emulation that I think, those things kind of, I can't get Duran Duran out of my head for the for the keyboard simulation. They all come from Duran Duran. They are to blame for it all. So you heard it here first, folks. The whole of the 80s. And that huge kind of spacey guitar sound, that he puts on as well, that I don't think you could have got before this kind of era of guitars with effects and things. It's I gave it an 8.5 out of 10 as well, and never a skip with the wild guitar solo at the end, doing what Jeff does. Andrew.
Hey Holly, hey Derek, thanks for hanging out with us. Stand on it.
Derek's woken up.
80s percussion going on here, isn't it? It's coasted along with stings from Jeff's guitar. Really, really love that. He takes it into a whole hard shoulder grind at that 230 mark with the keys. Beck's on full beam here with this song at 330. I love it. There's no L plates on this, baby. I've given this 9 out of 10.
Wonderful.
Good.
Nice, Andrew.
Yeah, quite a lot of consensus there. Jeff doing what Jeff does. So we move into the next track, which is called Day in the House, which is probably a little pertinent to us in the UK at the moment, because we're seeing a lot of the antics around the House of Commons and politics going on, which we won't go into. This again is very different. I would probably, I think when I got this, I might well have skipped this, but I don't nowadays. I'd play it through. I quite enjoy the vocal interjections, the nothing is being done in the tone of a pompous English politician. Is that the right phrase, Simon? I don't know if we should say that.
It's a perfectly adequate phrase, Jim.
Yeah, thank you. There's some good guitar playing in this, which kind of good stuff that I do like, and so it's not a highlight for me, but I've grown to like it a bit more, and I think it's just a bit of humor. Not the strongest track on the album, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 just for the guitar playing, and it's not the best, it's not the worst. So over to you, Brad.
Jim, I don't know. I'm getting a little bit cranky that our scores and our rankings and my notes are very similar to yours there. But I put here to dance around what you've already said, so I'm not repeating what you've gone on about. I've just put like very interesting intro. The drums, they've got that slamming vibe. I really enjoyed that. The talking voice, I found that quite humorous. So I take that as a humor part of Jeff Beck, like putting that in there is like, oh, I like that. I think we should put that in there. The music again, it's definitely got that keyboard 80s sound. Some great playing from Jeff Beck. Funky 80s vibes all the way through, in my opinion. It's it's not the strongest track on the album. I gave it 7 out of 10, but never a skip. I definitely enjoy listening to it. Simon.
Yeah, I think that as a contrast to the previous track, it goes back to that slightly more funky thing they did on the second track. Second track, where he went into that sort of more funky thing. Seemingly follow a rock track with a slightly more funky thing as a contrast to it. As you've said, the spoken vocals on the environmental theme quite early, but a bit polemical. But that's okay. It's yes, it's not the greatest track on this album. It's but again, Jeff is Jeff, and that kind of slide overdriven guitar. Well, I presume it's slide, although I'm doubting myself now after what you said before. I thought it was slide anyway. I think the synth chords underneath, but a 7.5 out of 10 for me, and never a skip. But as a contrast to the previous track, I think that's what it's there to do, and it does. Andrew.
Well, it's an electric car, isn't it? You know, Beck, you know, he's the echo warrior, very typical of what's happening politically today with what's going on. No one can accuse him of tailgating on this song. You know, he was probably a prophet before his time. When you consider this was 89, you know, back then things were called environmental issues. Now it's called climate catastrophes and all these kind of things. We'll try and keep, yeah. So, so you
Alliterative.
know,
That's why
yeah,
they do it.
yeah. I prefer V8s myself, Brad, to electric cars. I'm going to give this 5 out of 10, and probably sometimes a skip. And look, ladies and gentlemen, it's not because of the message. You know, that's just me being funny. I just don't see any musical clarity or content in here that's up with anything else on the rest of this album. We've never rated albums solely because of one fluff song, you know, and this could be the fluff number, but it doesn't take away what the album is, Simon, in my opinion.
No. Interesting, not the second to last track.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. We're now going into Two Rivers. This is a kind of ballad. It's effective. It kind of fades in. There's a strong kind of 80s kind of drum sound about it. The guitar tone is fantastic. It does soar in that quality that kind of Jeff always has. It sounds a bit to me like something you might hear on a kind of film, you know, as kind of soundtrack music on a movie coming in at some place. I don't know if it was ever used in that context, but I think it would have worked. It's kind of romantic piece of music, good guitar playing. You know, it's not in the same league as Where Were You, because it just isn't. But it's different. It's definitely got the kind of band sound behind it. Quite commercial sounding, I think. You know, it might help Jeff reach a kind of different audience if it was presented in the right way. So for me, again, not the strongest on the album, but an 8 out of 10 for me. Definitely quite comfortably all day. So over to you, Brad.
Yeah, look, I agree. Two Rivers, that ambient intro is very cool. I found the drums maybe somewhat slightly too much in the background for me, mix wise. But I'm a drum guy. I like hearing the drums up front. But you know, they put that big echoey sort of sound on it, so that could be why it sits back a little bit as well. Some really delicate, pretty guitar lines by Jeff Beck. They're very, very pretty. Truly is one of the greatest at playing this way. He evokes that emotion. Definitely, you know, some wonderful 80s keyboard sounds and patches there going on. I gave it an 8 out of 10, and it's never a skip for me. Simon.
No, I agree. I think that the thing that this really points out, in the same way as some of the other tracks on here, is that kind of extraordinary control he has, you know, over what he's playing and what he's doing. You know, whether it's with the volume control or whether it's with the whammy bar, it is an exercise in control, isn't it? You know, kind of being able to just pull all those beautiful sounds out and be each note, you know, crystalline and kind of perfectly played, perfectly organized, and with its own space around it and stuff, you know. And I think that he is the master of that, Jeff. And I think this track is the thing that comes for me out of that more than anything else, is that kind of mastery, that control of the sound and the note, the dynamic as well. You know, what he wants to say, and, you know, and the way that he says it is you know, really interesting. And you know, Where Were You is a better example than this of that, you know, that crystalline playing. But again, I think this does, you know, does it in the same way and operates in the same territories. That I gave it 8 out of 10 and never a skip. But you know, if you want to learn about Jeff's control, this is one of the tracks to listen to for sure. Andrew.
Nice.
Two Rivers. It's a gentle talk conversion job going on here. The space between the notes is a aquaplane of control from Jeff Beck, as far as I'm concerned. It's a chicane for the next number coming up. I love the song. I'm giving it 8.5 out of 10. But yeah, certainly, like I say, it's the chicane for the next song.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, the next song is Slingshot, and it goes up a few gears. I think it would be fair to say. It's taken at full tilt, breakneck speed. It's got a kind of sort of punky sound to it, aggressive. I really like this, and I think I found there's a kind of version of Jeff and the guys playing this from American TV. It's on YouTube, and if you haven't seen it, it's well worth kind of tuning in to see. I think it was it's announced as being, apart from not being able to pronounce the drummer's surname, it was announced as being Jeff's first live TV performance on US television. So pretty amazing, and they just rock it out. It's aggressive. It's just incredible. It just so lifts the album up. For me, it's a 10 out of 10. And when it finishes, it just makes you want to go right back to the start of the album and go through it all again. So, which I have done on a few occasions with this album, because you know, it just kind of seems to get its kind of claws into you. It does with me anyway. So yeah, you know, I love it. You know, I think it's a perfect ending. You know, it's going out with a bit of swag. Great stuff. Great track. Great finish. Over to you, Brad.
Yeah, Jim, I couldn't agree more. It's a fantastic track. It's got that up tempo sort of feel. Great way to end an album, in my opinion, on an up sound and an upbeat. I always enjoy that. Makes you want to listen to more. You know, it leaves you sort of wanting a little bit more. Like you said, you might go and listen to it again. Some fantastic guitar playing on this song, and some really good overdubbing guitar parts. I'm when I listen to songs and I listen to albums, I'm big on hearing what overdubs guitar players do. I like guitar players that put a few overdubs here and there to fatten things up or to color, but they don't do too much. Obviously, depending on the song, but I love the way Jeff Beck does it. He's like the sonic architect. He knows what to put, where to put, when to do it, and when to not do things. And he's fantastic that way. The way that he fuses his lead and rhythm work together is very unique on this song. I love the solo at that 1 minute 33 mark. Fantastic. Yeah, I am hearing some country sort of playing vibes dripping into this song a little bit. I don't know if you guys picked that up a little bit as well. But for me, it's a strong song and a great way to end the album. I put 9.5 out of 10, and it's never a skip for me. Simon.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's a sort of, as you say, Jim, it's sort of a real shot in the arm as the last track, you know, as a contrast to the previous track. It's kind of come, you know, I put it's like very punky in a way, you know, fast, heavy drumming, bass guitar, you know, comes in with a really sort of fast riff that, you know, and with all of Jeff's aggression to the fore playing it. That, and I agree, Brad. I think that it's. We've not really talked about overdubs, and I suspect it's a lot of keyboard overdubs and stuff on this record. But this has definitely got second guitar and him trading with himself, isn't it? Playing with himself that's going on, and great use of the whammy bar later on as well, and with that 2 guitars call and response at the end kind of thing. It's really cool. I give this 8 out of 10, but never a skip. Good ending.
Andrew.
We've got some admins there, please. Can we delete 69 girls out of the chat, please? I can't do that from
think
here.
so, but-
I'm on the StreamYards. I can't ban from Streamlines.
Mm.
If someone can do that from
It
StreamYards.
hasn't come up on mine yet.
There's enough ad. Okay, that's
I
good.
think someone's already done it.
Somebody's already done it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
Awesome. Slingshot. Brad, we've got a supercharged 351 Ford Windsor and a T-bucket on this song. We've got brake horsepower. The song Red Lines for me, Jim. There's no brake fade on this song. It's a great track to end the song. I think Beck is definitely playing in his skin and out of his skin on this, if that makes any sense. It's certainly a song that gives me the excitement to do what Jim suggested, to go back and go and have a listen. If the previous two songs, certainly one song was weak, the song before this builds up to this great song. Many times, guys, over the last couple of years, we've met this, haven't we? We have had a couple of good songs, average songs, and then always, the last song tends to be a killer of a track. And this is one for me. Simon, you're in timeout. This is a Brad score. He gave it a miserable 8. See you later.
dear. Don't care. Still only an 8.
Great way to end the album. And it's certainly Brad and Jim. It's come back. Come on. All right. It's certainly the signpost, isn't it? If you haven't heard Beck before, if you don't know Beck, if you may have had a superficial surface appreciation of Beck, you might be here because you're a Clapton fan and you may have seen him in his spaceman suit and his silver boots at the Clapton Crossroads festivals, wearing his sleeves up here and those silver, he's an out of it dude, no questions about it. And the music is a reflection of his out of itness. But I mean that in a positive way, Brad, if you know what I mean. So this is where it begins for me. If you want to point the compass bearing from where you can see Beck now, it started here, didn't it?
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really good point, Andrew. I shall go away and reconsider my score. Or on the other hand, I'm the rock professor. I know best.
Look, I don't want to hog the conclusion, but over the years I've spoken to a lot of people who are Clapton nuts, and we talk about the Crossroads gigs. How many of them are there now? There's 5 or 6 out. And Beck's paid at how many? 5 of them. And inevitably, the other artists come up, and more often than not, I get people that go, they just don't get Beck. I get a lot of people who say that. So I say to them, go back and check the early stuff. Go back and listen to Truth, Simon. Go back and listen to that stuff, and then build from that, because there is a big transition in that short point of time from him playing classic blues to this kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, there's his playing progressed, and I think his music progressed. Does that make sense? I think he kept evolving as a guitar player and kept stretching his music as well. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but that to me is where I always situate Jeff Beck, was on a continual path to evolve into what he was hearing in his head at the time. He just didn't keep repeating himself doing the same thing.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think it's in keeping with his restless spirit, isn't it? That kind of that wanting to move on all the time, do something different, progress. So quite quickly dropped the sort of blues rock thing, didn't he? And we got into the jazz fusion stuff with Wired and Blow by Blow, and then moved on from that into this sort of thing. Sort of
And that
more
rockabilly
as
album that
elements
he
of
did's
jazz,
a
isn't it?
killer too.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. For him, clearly, it's a guitar exploration, which he's on the journey of, and throughout his life. And I think that it is never changing landscape with him, for sure. But that's brilliant. That's
what
makes him who he is.
That's why I like him. That's why I like him. If you read a little bit about him, and like if you want the short answer, like we've said earlier, check that biography out. We've said it before, Brad. These English guys, they do what they want. Clapton did it. Page did it. Beck did it to a point where he left bands and went home. He had nowhere to go except for his mum's couch, Simon.
Yes, absolutely. But you are right. They all got that, Clapton, Beck, they all got that kind of singular vision thing, haven't they? Clearly Page just took control of it completely with Led Zeppelin, paid for the recordings, did it, but basically did it his way, and him and Peter Grant. But, absolutely, Clapton, as you say, broke up Cream, left the Yardbirds, whatever, did his own thing. And I think that it is interesting that they are three singular talents and they all have a singular vision about what they're doing, and they go and do that vision, and the hell with anything else, which is cool.
I saw him in 1990, but I saw him a few years ago with my son. Went to see in a kind of smaller venue. It's called the Armadillo in Glasgow, and we were pretty up front that night. And Jeff is really worth seeing live, because there's nothing he does on a record he can't do in a live performance, and it's something to watch it. And he comes across as quite a humble guy. He's got plenty of front. He's got plenty of capability to stand there, and he's pretty proud of, I'm sure, of what he can do. But he's quite underpinning that. There's a kind of humbleness about him, and it's great. And audiences just fall under his spell, because there's sometimes when you hear that playing, it's just floating up there and it's going up to heaven. It's just amazing. So, if you get a chance to go to a show, buy the ticket.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen him live, to be honest. I was just trying to think whether I saw him in the 70s. I don't have a memory of it particularly, but and I've certainly not seen him since.
I've seen him once. I saw him on I saw him once on a sideshow from the Byron Bay Blues Festival. So that was really good to watch him play. I was obviously went away from that just not knowing whether I need to bother trying to play guitar anymore, or whether I was influenced or inspired. I couldn't work out. But yeah, definitely a mind-blowing experience.
Yeah. Look at that. Holly says she saw him with the Mahavishnu Orchestra.
Oh,
in 1975. There we are.
Wow.
$6. Look at that. Yeah, fantastic. But that was amazing, Holly, wasn't it? That sort of jazzy fusion stuff. Yeah.
And can you imagine him and Stevie Ray Vaughan on the same stage? Just
yeah.
Well,
they used to encore every night, I think, on Freddie King's Going Down. That would have been something to see, I think.
Yeah. Of course, then he's got a singer, isn't he? Then he's got a singer, Jeff.
Yeah.
So, it makes a difference that. But it is interesting that he hasn't done the singing himself, because he hates his voice and he thinks he sounds terrible, and just won't do it, which is Jeff. But he also, for the greater part of his career, he's not bothered with singers, is he? The early part clearly with Rod Stewart, but quite quickly moved on from singers and got into just doing instrumental stuff, deciding that his guitar was the voice. And, he would do it like that, which is interesting. Yes, interesting man.
Yeah.
And a
Well,
fantastic
thank you,
guitar
Jim.
player.
Thank you,
Yes,
Jim,
thank you,
for
Jim.
picking that album. It's certainly refreshing to go back and listen to it, and I'll be listening to it again soon. It'll be great.
Thanks for the invite. Enjoyed it, guys.
That was really good. Really good. Really good.
Yeah, cool. Yes, thank you, Jim. It was fantastic to get something new. I know it's not new in my book, new in my world, anyway. So yeah, it was really cool, really cool.
Yeah, it's good to see. There's a lot of people that have commented they've seen Jeff Beck in the chat there, which is great. So it's one thing to listen to an album, but it's another experience to watch someone play live. And I think one thing that we do here on this channel is we talk about albums, but like I mentioned, that Live at Ronnie Scott's gig, that I've watched that, I reckon, at least 1,000 times. It's just unbelievable. And his version of A Day in the Life by the Beatles is it almost brings tears to your eyes, the way he plays so vocally on the guitar. It's unbelievable. So check it out, guys. Live at Ronnie Scott's. If you're not a big Jeff Beck fan, go and watch that, and that should change your mind, because I think he covers a lot of his career on that performance too. Like, his set list is very good, and there's a couple of songs on this album on it, and that's my favorite Jeff Beck performance, just because it's on DVD. The quality is great, and the sound quality is fantastic. It's got one of my favorite bass players and drummers, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
some pretty famous people in the audience. If you watch between the songs, see Jimmy Page and Robert Plant one night, anyway, and some
Brian
other
May.
famous
Brian May, I think Brian May was in there, but definitely unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, Derek Claxton says that he saw Beck once, and that Beck sang "Going Down" as an encore. So he did actually do a singing. So that's really interesting. Derek, thanks for that. I hadn't realised that he still did the occasional singing, or back then, comparatively recently.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, Mr. Walton, you're back from your the spinning wheel of doom.
Yeah. But I've been listening. So do we want to wrap the show up, guys, or are we?
I think so.
Yeah, I think we're done with the Jeff Beck album, and it was a great pick. Thank you, Jim, and thanks for joining us. And
yes, Tim. Yeah, good to see you.
It's been a great album to go through over the last week. I really enjoyed it.
Great.
Got my 80s head on. It was good.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Cool.
More to come.
Awesome.
Yeah. And look, thank you to all the subscribers. We're doing such an amazing job of growing this channel. You guys are helping us, doing such an amazing job. So thank you. We're just a bunch of guys just sitting around talking about music we love, and for people to get into it the way that you are, we're just blown away, totally blown away. And the views we get on the shows afterwards is just remarkable. So thank you so much, everyone who's checking out the shows later and subscribing and sharing our content. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we've been picking up some loads of views in the last week or so.
Yeah.
We railed. Yeah. So it's fantastic. So thanks to everyone who's watched, and please continue.
Yeah. Credit to everyone. Credit to Andrew, credit to Simon and you, Jim, and everyone else in the chat. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And go listen to some Jeff Beck.
Take us out of here, Mr. Walton.
All right. 1 hour and 44 minutes. Good time. Good time for a show. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much. We've got a couple of shows planned. Brad's going to be picking an album for next week. Stay tuned, because that may or may not go ahead. We don't know. He's got some gig responsibilities that may get in the way of him fronting for the show. Naughty. But we'll give him a pass this time.
His private jet
Um,
he's got to sort out.
I just haven't got the itinerary for next weekend, so I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted.
Awesome.
No worries.
And we've got Jim and John Conklin on the show, doing a show before we do the EVH Con. So if you guys aren't aware of it, if you've hung around here to the end, we are the official YouTube channel for EVH Con number 7, 2020. It's a small achievement for the channel. Out of all the YouTube channels out there that are Van Halen themed, we got the nudge, we got the shoulder tap. Brad, Simon, Jim, everybody that's connected with our channel, thank you very much, because that nudge that we get, that shoulder tap, is everybody's.
Really good, and a really good video you did as well, Andrew. Montage of stuff there, really
well
cool.
done. Yeah, well
Awesome.
done.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Are we going to cruise?
Yeah. Cool.
Let's
cruise.
See you, everyone.
Take care, all. See you next week.
Bye.
Stay safe. Bye.